Hello, everyone. Welcome again to another Teacher Joseph podcast. As you probably have heard already, the government has decided that it's going to take back control of our railway network. It's not happy because the private sector, the different bits of it which run our railway network, it's run by a number of companies, haven't really been performing too well. Also, the prices are going up, and the government feels it will have more control if it takes it back. So, our railway is once again going to be one company, as it was in the 1980s. Do you remember? It was British Rail back in the 1980s, and it's going to be something similar. It's going to be called the Great British Railway Company. Probably that's not going to happen here in Scotland because the government's already taken the railway back under control, and it's called ScotRail. But in England and Wales, it'll be the Great British Railway Company. So we're going to read a little bit about that because the first rail company to be taken back is South West Trains, which is a train company that operates around South West London. And they go out as far as Reading as well. We're going to read the government's decision, their press release, what they've said to the media about this. But just to give you some more of a background, so the way it is at the moment is the government own the rails and they rent out the routes as a kind of like franchise to private companies. Okay, so you probably noticed around London, you have South West Trains, Thames Trains, First Great Western Trains, ScotRail in Scotland as well, Great Northeastern Railways. They're all like separate companies who make big money running the railway, but they're all going to be coming back under government control. The very thing that Margaret Thatcher worked so hard to put into the private sector. They're talking about doing this with the buses as well. Right, so it says here, first train services to return to public ownership revealed. Services across England, now notice here, England, will return to public control, transforming our railways into a more reliable, affordable, and accessible system. South Western Railway's train services are to be the first to come under public control after the new law receives royal permission, because you know all of our laws have to be signed off by the king, even though it's just a formality. It says here, plans to overhaul the rail network and put passengers first have been announced as the Transport Secretary reveals South Western Railways will be the first to transfer into public ownership. An overhaul means a major reconstruct. If you give something an overhaul, you make it look better than it was. The transition to a publicly owned railway will improve reliability and support the government's number one priority of boosting economic growth. Yeah, see, I didn't think you could boost economic growth in the public sector. I thought those things had to be private. But, well, what do I know? It says here it will clamp down on unacceptable levels of delay. That means it will very securely fix any problems with delay. But clamp down is something the police do with criminals. They come down hard on them with the law. So it sounds like there'll be very strict rules about delays and cancellations. And a lot of companies working in the railway system have had failing franchise contracts, because they're given out as franchises. And it's saying here that the government will actually be saving 150 million a year by ensuring that all the profits go back into the railway. Today's announcement will see services across a wide area of southern England and East Anglia come back into public control by autumn 2025. It says here the government is fixing the foundations and delivering change. The government goes on to say, our broken railways are finally on the fast track to be repairing and rebuilding a system that the British public can trust. Hello, English public, more like. It's not quite like that everywhere else. You haven't mentioned Wales, and you haven't mentioned Scotland either. So the Scottish government have already taken back ScotRail into public control. It doesn't mention Wales anywhere here. I mean, presumably they do have trains. In fact, I know they have trains. There's a train station at Cardiff. Let's see. The publicly run services will be managed by DfT Operator Limited, whose function will eventually be integrated into the new system, which will be called the Great British Railways, GBR. Well, if you're old, like me, you'll remember British Rail, and that really wasn't fun. That really was awful. I mean, I remember really awful customer service. Also, I can recall the trains rarely running on time. At least in the private sector, you get things done because people, of course, are worried about cash. Of course, they're being very positive about it. While today's announcement marks a major change, the government's first priority is ensuring the transition is thorough. That just means done well and complete, and delivers the best outcome for passengers, allowing several months for each transition to take place with no adverse impact. That means no negative effects on passengers. And customers will still be able to purchase their tickets as before, with railway staff assisting as usual. Yeah, but they'll be working for the government now, not a private company. I can't expect a good service there. Let's see what else it says. Yeah, they found a chief executive of the Railway Industry Association, whatever that is. Do you know, I was at my local railway station the other day, waiting for my train, and I walked up and down the platform. I'm standing there, looking at my phone as well as we all do at the railway station. And I see this office, and it says Railway Chaplain. And I'm thinking, what? Railway Chaplain? There is one, is there? Apparently, in the same way as you go to an airport, you have a little church, at least here anyway. All of our airports have little, they don't call them churches or chapels anymore. They're called quiet rooms or prayer rooms. Many of our shopping centres have them as well. There used to be places you could go, sit down and reflect on life before you travel. These days they tend to be just Islamic prayer rooms, but they're for everyone. And if you're looking for a quiet moment, you can go in there and sit and rest. That's very common in our airports, but I didn't know we had them in the railway stations. So yeah, I saw this box, this little kind of like office, Railway Chaplain, and I thought, really? A chaplain is like a portable minister or priest. He can kind of like come and go quickly to different places and use that office. But I didn't know our railways had such a thing. And then I was thinking, why did they have such a thing? I mean, people now, of course, aren't religious, but it could be a non-denominational, just some kind of spiritual advisor, maybe in case of an accident. But I'd never seen that on the railway before. Anyway, well, right, it says here, under the government's bigger plans, GBR will bring the railway tracks and the train together under one directing mind. Yeah, that really fills me with hope. One mind, the government, with a relentless focus on improving services for passengers. I don't really understand why they're calling this GBR if it's not going to be all across the UK. It says the government has already made major moves towards improving passengers, and it makes a note here that LNER Railway Company, London North Eastern Railway, had been talking to the government to try to fix cancellations. Immediate improvements have also been delivered at Euston Station to deal with overcrowding. Yeah, so a bit of a hazy story there. The trains all coming back into public ownership with this company called GBR, but a little bit unclear how that affects Wales and Scotland. It looks like its focus, at least initially, is on England. So we'll see how that pans out. How something pans out means how it rolls out, how it continues. There we are. Very nice, very nice. So beautiful, beautiful railway companies coming back under British control, under the government's control. I tell you, Margaret Thatcher, she wouldn't be happy if she saw that. Although the railways, like a lot of companies that became private, they just didn't do well privately because their whole structure was set up in such a way that they were using systems developed when it was under government control anyway. So hopefully this will mean a big improvement. I don't know. But that's the news. So big changes coming. I would say it'll probably end up with more delays, especially since the government will be forced to look at other things. But who knows? We'll wait and see. Right, that's it from me for today. I wish you all a wonderful day. Bye.